Hello and welcome to Novels and Nightcaps. This week we're reviewing The Devils by Joe Abercrombie, a brutal, chaotic, and darkly funny fantasy filled with monsters and many, many poor writing decisions.
Next episode, we're heading in a totally different direction with Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. If you want to read along, now's the time to grab your copy. If you're enjoying the show, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps us more than you know.
And if you'd like to support us directly, you can pick up Project Hail Mary using our Amazon affiliate link in the show notes. It's the same price for you, but it helps us keep the show running.
Thanks for listening. Let's get into the episode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Novels and Nightcaps, the podcast where we read, drink, and ramble. I'm Gabe.
And I'm Noor.
And this week, we're making our way through the final part of The Devils by Joe Abercrombie, as well as giving an overview for the entire book. All right. So before we get into it, though, Noor, what are you drinking?
Oh, I am going back to what I had in episode 1, a Mezcal Negroni, because I felt like the book...
Dude, you can't do that. No. Wait, sorry.
Yes, I can. I just did.
No. It's the whole point of the podcast is like each part is a different drink. You just did the same drink. Another mezcal. Okay. No, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Because I'm broke and because we're going full circle with the story, I felt like part 4 finally kind of brought back the elements of the story that I liked. And it made me feel the same way I felt at the beginning. Just a little bit tamed down, so it has water.
That's very nice. I am drinking an espresso martini. The foam is mostly like gone by this point, but I'm drinking an espresso martini because The Devils as a whole, and I kind of broke the rules as well and chose my drink to represent the entire body of work, but it's stylish, a bit bitter, and it hits quick. But sadly, the shine wears off as I read through the book. So that's why I'm drinking my espresso martini. Now, this week is special. This is the first time we have actually finished a book here on the podcast. And with that being said, it's going to be a little different. Instead of just fixating on the final section of the book, it's going to be a review for the entire book. We're going to start off with about a 15-minute segment that is spoiler-free for those of us that haven't read it at all and want to know our thoughts on it and know whether or not to get into the book in general. So this section right here, completely spoiler-free, although you did hear our thoughts a little bit there and just kind of, what we're drinking and why. But 15-minute segment, no spoilers, nor... How would you describe this book to somebody who would like to read it? What type of reader would enjoy this book?
Yes. So if you like zany characters, morally ambiguous misfits that sort of come together for the greater good, except it's not really the greater good. It's more along the lines of doing what the government / the church wants you to do, then this is the perfect book for you. If you enjoyed Suicide Squad or Creature Commandos or any of James Gunn's work, really, you might enjoy this one.
This is very James Gunn coded. I think that's pretty spot on. Just in general, I think Abercrombie was aiming for Guardians of the Galaxy / Suicide Squad all the way. Whether or not he hit the mark, we can debate on that. But regardless, I think if you enjoy that type of work, I completely agree with Noor here. You're probably going to enjoy The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. Now, with that being said, what about a general light plot overview? What is this book about for somebody that hasn't read it? Let's get the back of the book sort of summary.
Mm-hmm. So we have a pompous priest who gets tasked to lead a crew of misfits, right? We have murderers, monsters, the worst of mankind. Not all of them are even human, We have a werewolf, an elf, an immortal knight, a
Mhm.
vampire, and a necromancer. And this priest is tasked with taking this group of misfits, this group of devils, and escort Princess Alexandria to the throne in Troy, right? It's this big church ploy, right, to combine the churches once again. And
And
along
yeah,
the way,
world
they
wise, it's set in a. Oh, go ahead.
no. Go ahead.
I was just going to give like a setting overview, because I think it's important to note this isn't, I think, a traditional fantasy. It's not like his First Law series. If you're coming from that, it is an alternative medieval Europe where the elves aren't dancing in the forest, but instead they're eating people and roaring out of the east. So it's different from history. It's not a historical fiction. It's an alternative history with folklore and monsters galore, with some familiar names, some familiar events, and a lot of small changes that could be fun. If you're into history, I think you might enjoy some of the little tidbits. I do, and it was very enjoyable for me to find the little like sections in here that were slightly different from the historical reality.
All right. Now, should we talk about our scoring right now? Do you think?
Oh, yeah. Okay. I think the best move here is because it's a spoiler free section, let's get into our overall score. Now, during the spoilers, we can get into our specifics and break down our overall scores. But for here, we want to each kind of say what we gave the book and why. Our scoring is on a scale of 1 to 10, and it takes into account plot, characters, world, style, and impact. So we take our scoring for all of those and take an average, and that's our overall score. So it's a little bit more objective than just arbitrarily throwing out a number, although it is obviously quite subjective still because it's a scoring system. But for our overall score, Nora, you go ahead and take it away. Out of 10, what did you give The Devils by Joe Abercrombie?
Right. So, my overall score out of 10 is a 6. 6 out of 10. So, above average. It's a fun time, not particularly that great. I had fun, more fun than I would with the average book, but at the same time, it doesn't quite reach the heights. You mentioned like it tries to be Suicide Squad. For me, it feels more like Creature Commandos, where the show also was a bit of a letdown. So high expectations. Um, the reward wasn't quite there. But yeah,
Now,
we
can you
went
say,
ahead.
without getting into spoilers, can you say like what dropped the ball for you? Like what in particular, without getting into spoilers, like don't give that at all. But
Mhm.
what section in particular did you find to be the weakest that anybody looking to possibly read The Devils could keep an eye out for?
I feel like most stories have this point somewhere in the second act where things sort of fall off. It has this great setup. This book has a really good setup. It introduces the characters in such a fascinating way. You love them from the start. You love or hate them, depending on the character. The style itself is really fun. And then we have this mission, which sounds exciting. It sounds dangerous. And then it just doesn't kind of deliver. The middle kind of falls down. Um, and it has a lot of repetition. It follows the same beats time and time again. If you've been listening to our previous episodes, we've talked about it to great length. Now, I will say it does pick up near the end again, which is why I went with the Mescal Negroni. It reminds you, it sort of remembers what it was standing for, but a little too late, if that makes sense. So I would say underdeveloped characters. Uh, the plot is sort of generic. I mean, I think you and I both saw the twist coming from the beginning,
Yeah,
and
like
the
right on.
impact as a
Yeah,
whole
like
just wasn't
exactly.
wasn't there.
Hmm.
But what about you? What
Completely
what
agree.
rating do you give it?
So for reference, for those that don't know us personally, I really enjoy books and movies and things, and I typically like go over the top with my appreciation of them. I have a hard time not liking something. It's rare that I give something a bad score. I'm quite generous with my ratings. I don't know what it was about this book, but maybe it was my initial expectations. It just didn't land for me. And that's why The Devils by Joe Abercrombie gets a 5.2 out of 10, just barely above average. I enjoyed it. Like when I was reading it, I could get into the zone where I, was turning the pages and having a good time, but it was very difficult for me to get into that zone. It sometimes felt like a chore to pick up, other times felt very
Hmm.
enjoyable, depending on what was going on. And that to me tells me it's not outstanding. Because an outstanding book, that's the type of book I finish in a few days, just to be frank. That's the type of book that, screw the podcast. I'm going to finish it no matter what because I have to know what happens next. I didn't feel that whatsoever. In fact, I usually finish my books, but I don't know what I would have done if I didn't have some sort of accountability with this novel. Uh, I don't know how much it would have kept me reading whenever there are so many other great books to read in this world. When my TBR, my to be read list is so long, like what does this do to really gain my attention? And I think the answer is not much. And I'm exactly with you. I think the impact was not there. I did not feel any emotional connection to really any of the characters. And they were enjoyable. Like they had some quippy prose, but it was just kind of a little too campy and unbelievable. And I saw the plot coming. I saw the plot twist coming. It didn't have the spark. But the prose is really
Yeah.
good. So that really picks it up. So I would say if you are thinking about buying it, look at what else you can buy first. And if anything stands out to you, buy and read that first. And then if you find yourself, you're at like a secondhand bookstore and you see a copy of The Good Old Devils sitting on the shelf and it's like $3 and you have some time to kill because it's summer and you're a high schooler and you have nothing else to do, yeah, pick it up, take it home, give it a gander. Maybe you'll love it. Uh, but I would also say maybe just read his other books instead.
Completely agree. Definitely wait for the mass paperback to release. Do not spend. I would not recommend spending $30 on this book. There are plenty
But
more
the
books out
cover's
there.
sick. Cover's super
That is
cool.
true. Hmm.
I mean, this is like I don't have the jacket on, and even still, it looks like a work of art, demonic art, but art. And
Hmm.
I mean, I felt cool reading it in public, and I like feeling cool reading in public. That's always a good feeling. So that is one
That's
thing to
what
be
we read.
said. The artwork, yeah, that's what we read to look cool. I wish that was wrong. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so anything else in the spoiler-free section before we dive right in and rip this book apart? Anything else that somebody who hasn't read this book should know before diving in?
I think we hit all the all the details here that we needed to cover. I think we're ready to spoil it up.
Yeah, guys. Yeah, this book is fine. So read it if you want. You don't have to. It's not one that I would sit here and say you got to read. However,
Uh,
actually, wait. We should probably say this. Um, every book is really enjoyable if you're reading it with friends. And that's why you should go pick up The Devils and watch our playlist on it. Because maybe you can
mm,
hate read it with us and you can see us struggle and see us get frustrated. Maybe that'll provide you a little bit of satisfaction and motivation to finish a bad book. So I just want to put that out there. Read it. Read it with us. No one else. Read it with us.
yeah,
Not alone, because it's not worth it alone. So that's my final piece. Those who haven't read it, you can leave now. Thank you for watching.
by the book,
Uh,
by the book, by
buy
the
the
book.
book and read it with us. All right. So Nor, we're going to dive now into our specific, step by step. Should we first react to the ending? This very clearly signifies we're stepping into spoiler territory. Let's talk about the
Yeah,
ending really
let's
quick
do
because
let's do a
yeah,
countdown
yeah,
real quick.
because
All right,
yeah, exactly.
3, 2, 1. Spoilers. All right, let's talk about the ending.
I saw it coming, man. I knew that she wasn't freaking the princess. I knew she was totally
Yeah.
BSing. And I think I called
Mhm.
that out the first episode, right? I think I was like, what if she's not the princess? Maybe I didn't. It's been a while.
It's been
But
a
I feel
while.
like I did.
I
And I feel right that the uncle was evil. I felt very validated about that. I agree though. Part 4 was really enjoyable. I did have a fun time reading. So I'll give it that. So what were your initial reactions?
My initial reactions, yeah, no, it picked up almost right away. I wasn't expecting that like cut. We ended part 3 with yet another fight against another brother or cousin, whatever they are, and then part 4 started with them arriving at Troy, and it picks up right after that. Um, it sort of like I think I already mentioned it, but it's almost like the book remembered what it was going for just a moment too late. We only had like
Yep.
100 pages left, and it was kind of a bummer in that sense. But
Yeah.
it was really exciting to see like the final thread sort of unfold there. Um, the twist very predictable. I don't think I called it like right away. I knew there had to be something more with Alex. Um, I think in the first episode I mentioned like how she might genuinely believe the lie. I had this idea that she had
Yeah.
already that she wasn't genuinely the princess, but she got to the point where she believed the lie. Um, I was giving the book too much credit at the time, but I, um, but yeah, I mean, the twists were pretty predictable. They didn't quite surprise me, and I think a good book has a twist that is predictable in hindsight, maybe even
Yeah.
before it happens, but it's still satisfying when it happens. And this just wasn't the case. It was more of like an eye roll type of moment where, like, oh yeah, the Duke is the. It reminded me a little bit of kind of a weird connection here, but it reminded me of Hans from Frozen. The bad guy from the movie where he's like all
Yeah.
nice and lovey, and then they're in the room alone together, and he suddenly drops that uh nice guy front, and it's I don't know, it just wasn't that creative, it wasn't that emotionally resonant. It felt
Yeah.
like
And
something that
I
he was checking
yeah.
off the box.
Yeah. Well, like, I mean, going off of that, I think the uncle was just so one note. Like he was just evil for the sake of evil. And to me, that just was so lazy, I think. And I like the author.
Hmm.
Like that's hard for me to say because I really, really like him. And I think he's an excellent author. And he's a legend in the space, like truly. And so for me to say that is kind of hard, but it was not very believable or interesting in any sort of way. It very much felt like I'm evil because I am evil and want power because I'm evil. Like it just it
No,
just seems so over the top compared to some of the other things that he was trying to be like semi nuanced ish with. They were all over the top. That in particular to me was so unbelievable.
no, he was definitely one note. He had no legitimate reason for wanting the throne. He was just greedy. And even that little twist where he murdered uh, Alex's alleged mother, that was supposed to be some sort of
Yeah.
bombshell. It didn't feel that way. It was just a side note. Um, and I think
Yeah. I
we
mean, we didn't
even
know the mother,
joked
so like
about it
why would
in
we
episode
care?
1, right? But I think we joked about it in the first episode where he gets injured and he has to stay behind. And he literally brings that up. He's like, "Yeah, my plan was to break my ankle and stay behind. But lucky me, like
Yeah.
okay, well, it's it was
Okay,
funny
I do gotta
in
say,
how lazy that was.
the thing that actually did catch me off guard, I have two things. So, giving to give the ending a little bit of credit, there are two things that I didn't expect that I really enjoyed. Um, I kind of forgot about Gal the Purse, and like was initially thinking that was going to go somewhere. Alex is, the person who really was Alex, right? I
Mhm.
initially thought that was going to go somewhere, and then the story just kind of went somewhere else. And so I kind of forgot about it. And so that was a kind of satisfying reveal. Not that it was, crazy. I wasn't my jaw didn't hit the floor, but I was like, oh yeah, I hadn't really put that together. Like, cool, that's nice. And then the other thing was what was the other thing? I had the two things. Oh, the last brother marrying Alex and then getting killed. I actually really enjoyed that. That was very satisfying because he didn't end up dying and doing the same thing. Like that was the one bit that wasn't repetitive. And that was kind of satisfying. Like I very much was caught off
Mhm.
guard. I mean, I thought the handmaids seemed like they were going to play a role, obviously, because they really fixated on all of the handmaids doing all the work, and it was really over the top, and they named them, and I was like, okay, there's something here, right? So whenever they betrayed her, it wasn't exactly like shocking, but I was shocked that they murdered the last brother. Like that did catch me off guard. So that was good for me.
Yeah. And what about the other twist? The one involving Lady Sabira, and she's actually being I forgot her name already. But the evil witch,
Yeah,
the
Eudosia, the
Eudoxia,
evil.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Evil
yeah,
witch.
yeah. Her evil witch. I didn't. I immediately saw that as, oh, they're setting up for the next book or something. That's kind of how I read it. I was like, oh, okay, this is called, he's setting it up, and like it was just kind of bland. I don't know. It was cool. Like, nice. Okay. It just kind of
Yeah,
felt like that.
her confrontation with Balthazar
It was
was
awkward,
very
right?
anticlimactic. Like they
Yeah.
were like genuinely impressed with each other, and then they just walk away. She leaves. I
Yeah,
think
that
she
should have
left.
that should have that should have like built into something either really important for either of them, right? Like Balthazar should have finally broken the, like the pact. Like it was something like that. Like
Mhm.
it should have built up because he was constantly trying. That should have built into something and it just simply didn't. And I agree, it was
Which
completely anticlimactic.
which they sort of set that up at the very end when Balthazar isn't back in the dungeon, and he thinks of Eudoxia and how she
Yeah.
broke. You know, she's basically able to transfer souls. Uh, but again, the encounter itself was very anticlimactic. Um, let's see.
Yeah. And what was the okay. Besides that, I had one more thing I really wanted to talk about. Oh yeah, I realized something, and this was after I made my rating. To be clear, I realized this, and this the whole repetitive thing with um, the knight. What's his name? How did I forget his name? The knight,
Jacob.
the immortal knight. Jacob, yeah, Jacob of Thorn.
Jacob. Yeah,
So
yeah.
with Jacob, that repetitive fighting thing, it could be like a 1,000 IQ writing decision to say like, no, this guy's life is repetition. Like that's part of what has made him so numb and so just resistant to goodness is
Oh, okay.
he is constantly living this like life of repetition, which we see through the book, which while I still think that was a, poor decision, but if he really did mean it, that's kind of brilliant a little bit to show it in such a way where, this guy's life is, I mean, literally just a cycle. Like, oh, I'm going to stand up to this guy that can't actually kill me and kill him because he can't win. that whole kind of thing of like, that's just how he's lived for, hundreds of years can kind of be cool. But I mean, again, it didn't really go anywhere. So it's a neat idea. But if that was actually the
Yeah,
intention,
yeah,
it
yeah.
didn't land. But I don't know. I just thought about that and went, oh,
I
that could
wouldn't be
actually be really sick.
surprised. Yeah.
I don't know.
I
Anyways,
wouldn't be surprised if he actually
that's my
meant to do that.
revelation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you're not supposed to eat the coffee beans.
Oh, did you just do that?
I didn't mean to. Yeah, just because you put like little coffee beans in the espresso martini for like aesthetics, I guess. And I was drinking, and it's the same color as the liquid, and so I just kind of drank the coffee.
Oh no.
Okay. Anyways, any last thoughts on the ending? On what we think about it? It seems like we both think, hey, better than the middle part.
Mm-hmm. There's one more thing. Two more things. All right. The death of one of our main characters.
Oh,
Baptiste.
yeah, I forgot.
How do you feel about that? Oh,
I forgot.
That tells me everything I need to know. That tells you everything you need to know. All right. Actually, I have to say this. I have this like I've noticed it over the last few years. It's a really weird like thing I have. Maybe it's like a blind spot or something. But
yeah,
I noticed that it takes me like a decent minute to like realize that a character has died in a book, like specifically main characters. Because other characters, it's very clear they talk about corpses being on the floor or like their last words or whatever. It took me a moment to realize that Baptiste kind of died. Her chapter, the last time we see her, she says, I should have quit after Barcelona, which is her like quote that she keeps saying over and over again. And I was like, oh, that's funny. That's funny. And then there's the next chapter. The next chapter is a different POV. And then the chapter after that, it's like everyone in the room knows that Baptiste has died.
Right?
Yeah, except for me. And I felt like it felt like walking into a room and everyone is like really sad, and I'm genuinely thinking, like, geez, who died here? And it turns out someone did die. So that gave me like some heavy whiplash. I had to reread the chapter again. Really I was like, there's no way she died.
No. That's really good.
So it was funny to me.
It's like I immediately, this is kind of catalyst, but this is maybe why I scored the book the way I did. But when I read that, I went, oh, that's why he didn't make her a POV. I was like, oh, okay. Like she's dead. Okay. Yeah. You don't want to have a POV character die. That's kind of difficult to write. So have somebody else die. So that one was like, okay. Yeah. I never really felt too connected to her. So
no, me neither.
When she died, I didn't think much, but I did like that it was Vigo Wolf. I liked that. I think that's good. Mm-hmm. Like it completely destroyed her as like a person, and I think set her back in like a good way for the book. I thought that was a good place to end her character. Realizing that there's probably going to be more books with her. To me, I kind of enjoyed the despair a little bit of that kind of put her in, where the horrible descriptions of her pulling out hair and meat and like, oh, like that was, like I liked that a lot, in the most respectful way possible. And that was crazy. That was really, really good. Again, that's the prose. The prose was really good in like the way it conveyed it was really cool and horrific. Like it made it just disgusting and awful and really carnal, which is exactly what it should have been. And he foreshadowed it well. And we already talked about it. Like, I think in the first episode, we might have predicted that the wolf was going to kill someone. Maybe we didn't. But they definitely foreshadowed it with saying like, oh, another person had died by the wolf. But Yeah, I mean, whenever it comes to emotional hit, there was nothing. So, oh,
Yeah, I
we I
think.
guess you're right. There are two more reveals, kind of, that I can think of. Sorry,
Mhm.
you continue your thought, and then we'll go on to those.
Um, yeah, no, I was gonna say that emotionally, it works for Viga, not for Baptiste. You know, because she's not Baptiste is, which is really sad because she's one of my favorite like archetypes. You know, and had we gotten some POVs from
Yeah.
her, she might have been interesting. In this book, she had not she had nothing going on. She wasn't that exciting. But it did work for Viga emotionally. I like the way you phrased it. You know, it sets her back a little bit so that when we get the second book, maybe she has that to sort of grasp and grapple with. You know. Um, but yeah, what was the other reveal that you wanted to talk about?
Okay, so there's two things. Number one, what about how we found out that Baron Rickard doesn't have a soul, therefore is not bound by
Yeah,
the popes there? I was like, I love
that
that. I
that made
actually
me.
really enjoyed
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
That
That
really
was one
did
of the
like
like
make his
most.
character far better.
Hmm. Yeah, no, it made me smile as I was reading that. It felt weirdly wholesome because he's kind of just doing this because he kind of likes it, which sounds like something I would do. uh,
Yeah,
I really did enjoy that. It's just like, oh, you Balthasar, you always think everything has to be clever. It's like I have no soul. I'm here because I want to. Like that was a nice twist. And honestly, Rickard was one of the most likable characters in the book. He was so charismatic, and that might have
yeah.
been like the speech with the dumplings when it came back when he tried to pull the same crap with the with the witches at the end.
Yeah,
and he has them like set each other on fire. that was
yeah.
that was very enjoyable. And I
I
love that it
agree. I
works
definitely think.
on like I love that it works on the devils too. You know, like Alex was also like really into the speech. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah.
Yeah, no, man, I definitely agree that Baron Rickard, he deserves a POV in the next book. If he's still there, like he has to have one. Like he's so
Hmm.
complex in that. I mean, vampires be bad. That's like a thing, you know. Like vampires gotta be bad,
Hmm.
but he's very clearly has some sort of moral compass, right? Like very clearly, and whether that's out of just boredom, in that this is the most interesting thing to do or not. It doesn't seem like that. Like he seems to really have purpose and know right from wrong and try his. He seems like to have a good heart, according to what we've seen him do. Right, like he had no reason to go help Alex other than her being in danger. Again, he has no
Hmm.
binding, and for the other characters, like they were going against their binding to help her. So I thought that was fascinating. But the last reveal, slash, like I guess where we ended the book, right before we get into our scoring, we ended the book with the next the next priest for the chapel of holy expediency. I don't remember her name, but the like kind of rough and tumble female who's done it before. Obviously setting up for the next book very clearly. I think she's the next person to do it. She was writing with somebody. I'm not going to lie, by that point I was like, okay, all right, I understand this isn't actually relevant, but so my brain shut
Yeah.
off a little bit. But that was like the final place where we left off. What did you think about that?
It felt very post credit scene, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and in that sense, you know, I was kind of just flipping through the pages trying to get it over with.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really remember much about their interaction. I know that she was very different from Brother Diaz, right? She's
Yeah.
almost the complete opposite. She has experience, she's more cynical. She has a history with Ziska, you know, who is essentially Amanda Waller in
Awful.
this universe. You know,
Yeah.
she's the what's the word, the mastermind behind this chapel. Um,
Exactly. I agree.
it
It was very
you know
after. It was very post credits. It felt like a TV show / movie. Like it seemed to me to push even more that he was writing this with film in mind / TV. This the Devils felt like it was written to be a TV show. In the structure, in how episodic it felt, like every part of the book could have been its own episode without a second thought or much editing whatsoever. And that's felt like the final little scene to say, like, come back for season 2. That's what it felt like. And it was maybe my interest in the book at that point was just over with, but I agree. I was flipping to the end. I was done with it.
mhm.
All right. Any final thoughts
Yeah, I
on the
mean,
ending of the book before we go into the scoring?
final thoughts. How do you feel about Brother Diaz and like the way his character went at the end? Do you think that was like,
It's good. I
like,
liked it. Yeah, I was satisfied. I was like, nice. It felt like actually like a little bit of conclusion for him, and real development. And I did appreciate that he was in a different place than when he started, and he was in a better place for himself. Like it felt like it fit more. And Alex actually, she's making a difference. He's making a difference. Put them in a position where they can be useful in later books. I'm not sure if they're going to be POV characters or you're going to run into them later, but this is certainly not the last we're going to see of them. However, even if this is the only book of the Devils we read, then I feel satisfied with the conclusion of his story. Like he survived, he had a change of heart, had a little bit of love, a little bit of hate. He's back in the seat doing some real change. And I liked how it's like, I mean, okay, I do have some problems with it. Let me get into that. That scene where he's in the courtroom and uses his like logistical prowess to argue for Alex, like that scene, I was a little annoyed by because we didn't really get shown any sort of real anything there. Like we heard about some stuff, but we knew he could teach her how to read. But it just felt like one of those things where it's like, look, he is good at something, but it felt undeserved. I wasn't, rooting for him there because there was no real victory because that didn't seem like a skill he ever had until it suddenly manifested.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you pointed that out. For me, that was the campiest like scene in the book. It just felt like it came out of nowhere, and like you said, it feels like it's trying to validate him as a member of the crew, which there were so many better ways to go about it. I was rolling my eyes while reading that scene.
Yeah.
But good for him, and I'm happy that he is, in a position where he can actually sort of shine. Allegedly, I mean, again, we weren't really shown that he was skilled at that to begin with.
Yeah.
But it's like,
Okay.
but no,
So, sorry. Go ahead.
there's one more thing I want to talk about before
Yes.
we go with ratings. The fate of the devils themselves. For a book that spends a lot of time being very whimsical and absurd, and they always kind of joke about things nonchalantly, like, oh, this is just another day for the Chapel of the Holy Expediency. That ending, how did that work for you? Sunny going back, everybody in the dungeons,
Yeah.
Balthazar having his epiphany, and then just being like unclouded
Imprisoned?
once again. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not gonna lie. Like we predicted the ending last time.
Mhm.
So for those that are just watching this as like an overall review of the book, in the last part, we made some predictions about what we thought the ending would be. And we predicted it'd be kind of like a, sitting around the campfire, happy go lucky ending. I was actually I liked this a lot more.
Mhm.
It was very jarring in the best way possible that really hammered home some of the like selfless parts of these individuals, that knowing that they're going to be, you know, dehumanized, they still did the right thing. And I really enjoyed that. That was to me the most powerful thing, was not necessarily the anything the characters actually did or said, but reading between the lines there and seeing that in contrast where they end up with where they end up, which is
Yeah, no,
right back in the same position at the beginning. I very much enjoyed them being in the dungeon.
and I'm glad you say that, because for me, that ending, the ending we predicted last time, is the ending that I was afraid we were going to have. This is the ending
Yep.
that actually feels like it makes a statement. And for me, and this is a nice segue into our ratings. It's one of the reasons my rating went a little bit higher than it would have prior to reading part 4. Um, and for me, that was a bit more impactful. Not quite, like life changing, but
Yeah.
impactful in a way that makes me interested to read a little bit more, but probably not. But yeah, let's
Yeah.
talk about our
Okay.
ratings then.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not
Unless you
okay.
have,
Going into ratings though, first we're gonna talk about plot. Now, after talking about this and actually seeing and feeling myself get actually kind of excited about the ending of the book at some parts and actually getting like enthusiastic, I would have changed my plot score, but I'm going to stick with my guns here because this is what I initially wrote, and this was my
Mhm.
immediate response to the book. But then again, like this is what a book club is about. This is what having conversations about books is about. We talk, we digest the novel that we read, and we change our minds. So just putting that out there, like I think this is the point, right? But before we had this conversation, I put plot at 4 out of 10. It was one of my lowest rated, because I was honestly really annoyed with the same thing happening over and over again. I mean, I think I was the first one that called it out. Like, this is the same fight, and none
Mhm.
of it was exciting for me. I felt like I knew exactly where it was going. And I really love a book that has a lot of twists and turns that I don't expect, that feel satisfying, and I was never really like super satisfied with any of the twists and turns here. So 4 out of 10. The starting place was great, and upon retrospect, the ending place was great, because I honestly kind of, when doing the scoring, blocked out the dungeon part and kind of took part 4 in its entirety.
Right,
But
right.
excluding the dungeon part, the ending was kind of lackluster for me. Um, I mean, obviously it's not Stormlight Archives, but it didn't even kind of reach the heights of something like that. And so I definitely was disappointed by the plot, especially with how promising and epic the the synopsis really is. If you kind of give this as a just blurb to a new reader, to somebody who hasn't read it yet, it sounds crazy awesome. Like, it sounds super cool, and it just didn't land. So 4 out of 10 for my plot. Nor plot, what do you give it? What's your score?
I was a bit more generous. Um, I gave it a 6 out of 10, but I think we have more or less the same like reasoning behind it. Crazy, crazy high expectations for this one. I mean, um, Suicide Squad, right? That this is
Love Suicide
basically
Squad,
who
man.
who they are. It's a bunch of like demons and monsters who have to work for the church for the greater good, and maybe they realize that they can also be good along the way. That was sort of the premise. That was what sold me to get this book in the first place, right? Um, and it starts off really fun in a dark sort of way, in a dark and twisted way. These characters are unlikable. Even the priest is unlikable, but in the good way. The type of character that you want to see fail and then eventually grow. So part 1, great. Then part 2, sort of falls off a little bit. It feels very repetitive. Now there's like a side quest with some like illusionist house and retrieving an item just to get passage to a different place. And there was the semblance of like character development with those flashbacks, but it was very lackluster. And then the battle on the ship, while cool, still follow the same beats as the first fight. Um, then part three, very sort of random. They were wandering around, trying to reunite. Um, a cool battle sequence, which again follows the same beats as the one before. And then part four sort of finally brings it back together, but not quite to the same heights as part one. So for me, 6 out of 10. Could
Yeah.
have been a
Okay.
lot
You know what
better.
I think? I think I realized something. The Devils is not James. It's not Gunn's Suicide Squad. It's the 2016 Suicide Squad. It's the 2016 Suicide. It's Suicide Squad, but it's the one with Mr.
It's
Smith.
not the good one.
It's with Will Smith. It's not the good one. It's the. I think that's the conclusion. When telling this to people, it's not James Gunn. It's 2016.
It's
Will Smith and the others. I don't know who directed it. Doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
It's that one. Will Smith.
It's Suicide Squad, not the Suicide Squad.
Not
It's a bad one.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I think that's a solid breakdown. I think I think we agree on the characters, right? 6 out of 10 for me, 6 out of 10 for you. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
6 out of 10.
Characters. We both give it a 6 out of 10. And yeah, they were cool. Like there were some of them that stood out more than others. There were too many of them. We talked about this early on and immediately diagnosed like from the, like, I think literally part one, we immediately were like, there's too many characters. It's going to make it difficult for us to care about any of them. And it's too crowded. The dynamics just aren't really flowing. We were right on. Like the entire book was plagued by too many people. And
all right. So now that we've read the whole book, and we've talked about this, I think every episode actually, but now that we've read the whole book, who would you keep and who would you get rid of?
That's good. Okay. This is good because I don't remember who I said last time. I would get rid of. Are we getting rid of one?
As many as you want. Go
just
crazy.
Get rid of them all. just Vega Wolf.
Vega Wolf supremacy.
Just the werewolf. Yeah, dude. The devil. Just one. Just Vega Wolf going. No, I would get rid of Baptiste. I think she was kind of a pointless character. She had this like stupid shtick where she just kind of knew how to do everything, and it just wasn't fun. Like. It was cool at first, but after a bit, it got really old and unsatisfying. So dump her, throw her out. It'd be fine if they like ran into her and she died within like the same 2 chapters or 3 chapters. I think that would have been cool. If like, oh, I just fixed it. If you want her to be a character, you have Jacob of Thorn, know her obviously, but like the Devil's crew marches into their little town, finds her. She's a cool ally. Jacob of Thorn knows her, but she dies by the end of their little journey, or she doesn't die at all and just sticks where she is. Like she should be a side character that they meet and then depart from because she's a cool character. She just doesn't need to be part of the main cast. So that's what I'd get rid of. What about you?
I would get rid of Baptiste. I think, like you said, have her be a side character. Maybe have her replace the guy in Venice, the one that
the one
showed
I don't
up
remember.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody else was cool. Baptiste was kind of a letdown. I'm not gonna lie. Definitely keep Sunny.
I think we said we would consolidate. We would consolidate Jacob of Thorn and Brother Diaz. I would still do that. I think they should be consolidated, and I think you could. Honestly, if we're really wanting to like push down the characters, maybe combine. This doesn't work personality wise, but combine Baron Rickard and in Sunny, like in that like have a vampire slash elf thing. I don't know if you would do that or just I think that they could be the one character. Like I like them both a lot, but there's just too many, and you could achieve a similar thing by having them both. Like if Sunny didn't actually have any papal binding and actually was just doing it out of the goodness of her heart, like it would still have a similar effect. And then the others, I think you can keep the same. Like I think Vigo Wolf cannot be combined with any other character, and Balthazar cannot be combined with any other character. But I think that Sunny and Baron Rickard can, but I don't know.
That actually brings up a good point. Was it ever established that Sunny has a soul? It's weird that the enemies of God would have a soul. But she does because she has the binding.
We know she has the binding because she like feels the acidic burps. Like she narrates that. I interpreted it as like just the Pope saying they don't have a soul, and that's kind of part of the Christian theology, but not necessarily reminiscent of reality, which we find a lot in history, where they'll do this a lot to all sorts of people, like the Jews, the Muslims. Like this is a thing that occurs. So I thought he was just running off of that historical example and applying it to the elves, where it's not necessarily reality. Just they did the same thing for all of the devils, being like they're worse than evil. No, they're not. They're obviously not. But anyways, that's what I thought. But that's an interesting thought. It'd be cool to explore that more, or even challenge that more in future books. I'm looking for. I can see some crusading being a really fascinating part of future books. Like, give me an epic battle, I'll be in. I'm not gonna lie, I'll probably read it if there's an epic battle. So that's a simple man. See battle, read. Yeah. I think that's what I do. Okay. And then do you disagree? Do you think that Sunny and Baron Rickard could be the same, or would you cut one of them? Would you keep them both?
I think I agree. They both fit that inhuman archetype, because you have the one who has basically desecrated like divinity by playing around with life and corpses. You have the necromancer, right? Then you have Viga, who is the monster, and then you have Sunny and the vampire, who have like no souls, allegedly. Like that's what they would say, and they fit the human trope. Personality wise, they would clash. But if we're really trying to cut down, then I think keep Sunny.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Keep Sunny. Okay, world. Did we agree on this one too? We have the same.
I think we did, yeah.
Yeah, we did. Okay, so to be clear, we very much scored this independently, did not talk to each other. We just put them in a document for our general layout for the podcast. And so that's why we can see each other scoring. And we independently came to very similar conclusions. So world / setting, 6 out of 10. Mm-hmm. Again, I found some parts fascinating, but it wasn't exactly a selling point. You won't find me looking up pieces of lore or, searching through the wiki. That's not happening. There's not going to be a board game or a card game. This isn't the Cosmere. This isn't Middle Earth. This isn't. You could go on and on of worlds that sell books, and this is not one of them. And I get the feeling that this was Joe Abercrombie not wanting to create something new, to be honest. My take is that a setting and a world should have a point to the narrative. The world is created to fit the narrative. The world is created for a purpose. If you just have dragons in your world for the sake of having dragons in your world, you're not doing it right, I think.
Mm-hmm. The world is a character.
Exactly. And I think Joe Abercrombie did not fully utilize his world. He could have had it be like the little tidbits that I found fun, the slight idiosyncrasies between our world and that one were cool. But what was the point? What was the point of it being long pox?
She still died.
I think she still died. I came to the conclusion that while it was fun and fascinating, it didn't do enough to justify its existence.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think.
No, I agree. It's aesthetically pleasing. It's fun watching these like little differences. There is no purpose to them aside from, the elves being God's enemies. Um, and for me, to keep it very simple, our world, our world's world building is a 5 out of 10 for me.
That's really good.
so so the fact
really
that we
good
had
standard.
so the fact that we had the same world just with demons and monsters but that basically serve no purpose, that bumps it up to a 6. That's my reasoning.
Virgo, that's so funny. You're like, okay, so it's like the Earth, but with elves. That's above average.
Like I'd live in a
gosh,
world
really
where, yeah.
I like that. I like that. That's funny. Okay, that's a really good take. Okay,
on a more positive
style
note, though.
Oh yeah. Style and prose more positive.
Mm-hmm.
What did we give it, Nor? We both give it the same score again.
7 out of 10.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I very much like his prose. I've liked his other prose in his other books. He's really good at it. It's kind of undeniable. This is a more objective, positive of the book. It would have gotten higher if the book was better, to be honest. Like, if the thing that dragged it down for me was some of the dialogue between the characters. The internal monologues were really satisfying and fun. They were very vivid when they were alone and with their own thoughts. But the moment they interacted as a team, except for one time for me, it just didn't really sell. And that's why the style/prose kind of took a little bit of a hit, is the comedy went a little too far sometimes or just didn't land. A lot of times it did, but not always. And some of the times when it needed to the most, it didn't. And some of the times when it needed to be emotional or serious, it wasn't. And that to me is why the style took a bit of a hit. But his actual like sentence structure, his actual phrase. Also, we discussed how he wrote action scenes, like switching between the perspectives and stuff. That was kind of difficult to follow.
Very, very
and
movie.
Another reason why it took a bit of a hit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, anyways, 7 out of 10, above average. It's good.
Mm-hmm. Like, I don't want to keep repeating the same things, although we do have very, very similar ratings. I would say that if we divide it a bit further, the prose itself, for me, it's an 8 out of 10. The style, it's a 7 out of 10 in this book. I feel like, yes, it's playful. Yes, it's clever. It's a little repetitive. He does the rule of thirds way too much. Where a character will say the same thing 3 times and it's supposed to be funny. It's funny maybe half of the time. And in this sense, the style sort of gets in the way. There were parts that I sort of skipped through. There were parts that I had to reread multiple times. Action sequences. I love movies. I'm a big movie fan. If we weren't doing a book podcast, we'd be doing a movie podcast.
That's facts, yeah.
Yeah, right. And as much as I like movies, that same style doesn't always translate well on the page, and vice versa. And that's why they're different mediums. So yeah, I would say the style kind of got in the way a little bit. So for me, 7 out of 10. but I would definitely read more Abercrombie. This was my first book. And while the story was a bit disappointing, the author seems to really get the little, details of an internal dialogue. And
Mhm.
I'd be interested to read more serious takes on different characters by him.
I feel like we need to read the Blade itself just to like cleanse your palate with him, because I really like, I came in really being like, this guy's awesome, Noah, you're gonna love him, he's so good, like this is such a good book. And then we were severely disappointed and spent 2 months of our life reading this. So I think it would be very good to go through and kind of see some of his better works, because from what I understand, most of his other books are better. Not all. I've heard he's had a like stinker here or there, but even that being said, like this being one of his worst books, and it still was a good time. Like I had a good time. It's above average, barely for me, but it's a good time. That's saying something. Like he can't write a bad book, and that's important to understand. This is not a trash book that I would throw away. Like this will sit happily on my shelf and looking pretty, like it's there. So I think that's important to say. But I completely agree. So moving into our final one, Impact, which is, I believe, the lowest score for both of us.
Yes.
Do you want me to go first?
I'll go first because I like the
Okay.
little twist. Yeah. So I went with a 5 out of 10, and again, I think we talked about this earlier. We're both glazers. We we
Dude,
like
I love
books.
glazing.
Dude, glazing for life.
Glazing's the best, bro.
I mean, go ahead and check
Nobody
my
clip that.
letterbox.
Nobody clip that, please. Sorry.
It will be used against you. But like if you go through our letterbox log, you can see that almost every movie we've ever logged
4 out of 5, 4 out of 5, 4 out of 5
has a heart because we loved it. 4 out of 5, 5 out of 5.
yeah,
And
that happens too much.
Oh, which again, nice thing about the podcast is we get to put our thinking hats on and be a little bit more critical. But yeah, 5 out of 10. It was a bit of a it was a bit of a letdown. There was no moment where I felt like these guys are heroes, which again, part of it is, preconceptions, the things that would bring into the table. Part of it is those expectations that are set up by the book itself. But there's always that moment in the book, especially with anti-heroes or misfits, where they come together and they have this option to like leave and go back to their comfort zone, but then they decide to do the right thing. And this book has that moment. Alex gets in trouble. Saint Natalia's flame turns blue, signaling danger. And the devils are on the boat. And they decide, we're going to go check it out. We're going to go check it out. We're going to do the right thing. It didn't feel that rewarding. It felt very underwhelming.
Yeah, it did.
Which is it's a bummer, because this is prime material for that scene to be one of the best ones. And it's kind of an afterthought. So impact, very low. I would say the only upside was the fact that our heroes or devils went back to the dungeons, and they didn't really get anything out of it, which says a lot, But aside from that, 5 out of 10 for me. Now, Gabe, what about you?
Having my mind apparently short out and forget about the dungeon part, I give the impact a 3 out of 10. It was impact wise, incredibly disappointing.
Mhm.
And I would not only chalk that up to the scene you were talking about, because I completely agree. Because what they should have done is all of them, including Alex, sacrifice something for the greater good of like people, like citizens, other people. And because it was sacrificing for their friend, it didn't feel as important because it's like, yeah, of course, they've spent so long with this person. They love this person. But what about the people that they don't love or they don't know? That I think is where it's important. That's where you become a hero, right? You don't become a hero because, you save your best friend. You become a hero because you save a stranger. And this didn't have it. But other than that, I was really frustrated constantly throughout the book at times that were promising and then completely dropped the ball on, the emotional impact of characters. Like whenever Viga had like this vision of a mountain of bodies, right? And she just was overwhelmed and then completely forgot about it. Just like, let's go have sex. Like it just completely forgot all of the stuff she's been thinking. And while I, am satisfied with where she ended up in this kind of dark place, I would have appreciated if there was a bit more of an up and down there. It was kind of like I'm riding high, I forget all the bad things ever. And I felt like a oop. And then it was, I'm riding high. I ate my friend. Like that was it just, to me, the struggle wasn't real for any of them. They never felt like they were in any danger. They were all overpowered. And because they were overpowered, there was no tension, no impact. And I thought it was below average for impact, significantly below average. I usually feel feelings. I did not feel feelings here. I'm a feeler. I'm a feeler. And I did not feel my feelings
Gabe has
here
feelings.
at all.
Not
I have
this time.
feelings. Contrary to popular belief, he does not. I have feelings. No, dude, it was just not it for me. It did not hit. Maybe if it had a sick soundtrack, that would fix it. I gotta ask,
a
Noah,
sick
did you have a
soundtrack would
soundtrack?
fix
A
it.
soundtrack? Did you have like a soundtrack when you read the book?
I did at the beginning, and then the book sort of dropped the ball, so I dropped the
You
track.
don't give it your time. Yeah, I understand.
No,
that makes
not
sense.
worth it. And
I think I listened
for those who
to-
don't know me, I have a soundtrack for everything. So
He's the
letdown.
sound guy. He's the sound guy and the movie guy and the book guy. No, dude. I think I listened to like ethereal music. It was just kind of like it was like that sort of song, just background music.
Mine was
that was it.
1920s jazz at the beginning.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay.
Mhm.
So yeah, overall 5.2 out of 10 for me, which is incredibly low. And I suspect we won't read a book that low for a fat minute. And then for a 6 out of 10 for you. So overall, looks fine. It took 4 episodes to find that out, but actually it took 1, but book fine. Book's fine.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts before we end this?
Yeah. On the scale of...
You have thoughts.
Like...
Okay.
I do, yes. On the scale of collector's edition, hardcover, mass paperback, library lending, and book that somehow ends up on your shelf because someone left it there.
I hate to criticize your scale, but I think it should be like you have your hardcover, or you have collector's edition, like leather bound, hardcover, mass market
leather
paperback,
bound,
ebook. You have ebook then, right? I think ebook is
ebook is the lowest.
Mass market paperback. Yeah, and then library.
Let's add. All right. Yeah, let's add ebook
right,
there. Yeah. I'm glad you bring that
I feel
up.
like ebook is one of those. I mean, that's good. We gotta shout out to all those ebook readers out there. Shout out to the ebooks. Anyways, where would this be? I would say mass market paperback. I think it's enjoyable. The cover's nice. You want to see it. I'm not about to spend like $100, $200 on a beautiful collector's edition. And $30, if I have a lot of money, I would, but I don't. So it's a mass market paperback for me. It's not the cover. The art is too pretty to be an ebook, and it doesn't need to be borrowed. Honestly, it's better at the library. So I'd say paperback. How about you?
So paperback is higher than ebook, right?
Yeah, of course it is. What kind of question is that?
Just had to clarify, because I am going to go ebook on this one. I kind of don't. I regret spending $30 on this. I wish there had been a version for $10. But in hindsight, this is one of those books that it reminds me a lot of the other books I have on my ebook, which are, books that I wasn't quite sure about. So I just got them for $5 and I had a good time. I will never read it again, probably. I had fun while I was reading it. I didn't really think about it after the fact. So I think ebook for me.
I guess we did, because we had to podcast it, so we did have to think about it. But yeah, no, I agree.
Oh, man. You'd be surprised.
I think that's fair. I think that you sit down and it's just the thoughts come to you in the moment. It's hard because I have to read something really bad. I hate ebooks, man. I think they're like the bane of my existence. I just despise them. Maybe one day we'll read a book that I hate so much. I think if the book actually makes me angry, like Babel. Babel made me angry. Babel by what is Kwong? Is that her name?
I have it. I have it here. Oh no,
you have it there.
Yeah, you're right.
Do you not have it here?
No, my Lego building is blocking it. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah, dude, that book actually made me
I'll show you
mad.
a picture.
That's an ebook level. I hated that book. Anyways, sorry. Tangent for another day, rant for another day.
Mm-hmm.
But here at Novels and Nightcaps, we do read, drink, and ramble, all of which we have done today. Nor, did you finish your drink?
Here we go.
Dude, that's so close. This is the closest you've ever gotten. Oh, man, I'm so proud of you. Here, I'll finish my water.
Oh, that hurts.
Man. Oh, man. A mezcal Negroni, because we end exactly where we began.
Oh, that burns.
Now, before we sign off, Nor, what are we reading next time? Because we finished The Devils. What are we reading next?
Drum roll, please.
I have to hold my mic. I can do like a.
Yeah, do like a gentle tap. There we go. Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Because there's a movie coming out.
There's a movie coming out, and also I think it'd be sick for us to watch the movie also and do a review about that and then compare, because we like movies. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Project Hail Mary. So 2 weeks from now, read through chapter 15. Is that right? Through chapter 15.
Chapters 1 through 15 for first part.
Well, if this is your first time listening or watching, please like and subscribe, follow for more, go pick up a book, grab a drink if you're not driving and you're also over the age of 21 in the United States or over the age of 18 in select countries around the world. And thank you so much, and have a good night.